What's up, guys, and welcome back to another video on my channel. It's not a Football Manager video. I know it's been, I know the majority of the content has been Football Manager since I've been back, but this video is a Champions League preview for the game against Marseille on Wednesday, which I can happily say I will be there. So if you see me, come say hi. Thank you to the lovely gentleman on my right. I'm been offered the chance to go into another Spurs game, which is great. So I'll be there on Wednesday for the Champions League game, which I'm really excited. We've been trying to go to a game together for like 7 years. Never had the opportunity. So now that opportunity is here, I cannot wait. Hopefully we win. We're going to talk a little bit about the Fulham game, and then we're going to get into the preview against Marseille. So first of all, introduction to the gentleman on my right. Harry, how are you?
Yeah, good to you.
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. Excited, been buzzing at work all day. Cannot wait to hear the Champions League music at the lane again. I'm really, really excited. It's ironically my last game, my last game was a Conference League qualifier. The game before that was the Champions League. So it's crazy that we've gone from Champions League to Conference League back to Champions League where we belong. But yeah, I'll leave a link to Harry's channel in the description as well. I'm always over there on loads of different streams talking about Spurs. If you've come from Harry's channel, you probably recognize me. I'm always on there. But yeah, let's get into it. So Fulham, first of all, 2-1 scoreline, should have been 4 or 5-1. Richarlison should have had a hat-trick. He played absolutely incredibly. I think Lenglet played incredibly as well. Højbjerg and Bentancur in midfield were sensational. Emerson was good. Romero was great. It's just all round a 10 out of 10 performance for me. I know we didn't score the goals we deserved, and I know we conceded. But ultimately, the performance itself is a massive improvement from what we have seen so far this season, and leaves me optimistic, fingers crossed, that we're going to pick up 3 points in our first Champions League group stage game. Now, for you, Harry, what's your thoughts on the weekend so far?
So for me, Bentancur and Højbjerg were brilliant. Romero had a decent game back. I felt Longley added a more attacking and like forward-thinking impetus to our game, because I think Davies, for me, whenever I watch him, he's a bit too like negative. He always passes it backwards. I think Longley was looking to pass the ball forwards, and what I noticed, he seemed to play the ball into Bentancur a lot quicker, or he would play the ball down to Sessegnon a lot quicker. I thought Emerson, again, he did improve, but again, his delivery does need to improve. I think Richarlison, there's not much I can say negative about that performance, to be honest. Richarlison was clearly man of the match.
What you want from a home debut,
yeah.
Apart from the goal.
I think with Richarlison, he can play all across the three, and he kind of showed that in that game. So I think it was even a period when Son and Richarlison switched. He played off the right, but I never felt like he was out the game, even playing on the right, even though I felt like that's probably his worst position across the three. That's just my opinion. Even when he moved to the middle and we had a three of Kulusevski, Perisic, and himself, it kind of showed like our strength and depth in that position as well. And you forget we've also got Lucas to come back. And I thought he was even brilliant as a sole striker in that three. Bentancur was unreal. Again, his recycling of the ball is like almost second to none. If I want to say this, I think Højbjerg, he seems a bit more confident this year. And he's formed like a very good partnership with Bentancur. I mean, Dyer, even for me, I thought even he had a decent game. But the one thing I'd like to say, though, is that I think psychologically, when Kane came off, it kind of gave Fulham a little bit of encouragement to get at us, and that's what resulted in the goal. But I think it's important to see that even though we did dominate the game, and I think we were a much better team, to be honest, we need to just kill games off.
Do you not feel, though, that there are some days where you just get unlucky? You look at Richarlison hitting the post, Son hit the bar twice. You know, I feel like there were so many opportunities in that game.
I think the Son chance for me, I had my head in my hands.
I couldn't believe it. That. I think the Richarlison volley as well. The Richarlison offside, it was great movement. He was offside for that. I'm not going to be deluded.
I think it was Sessegnon that was off. It wasn't actually him. For his goal, when they checked it on VAR, there was
another chance where Richarlison was played through that was ruled offside. You know, his volley hitting the inside of the post and coming out at that angle. What a strike, by the way. On another day, that hits the inside of the post and goes in, or it hits the post, hits the keeper and goes in. You know, so that's where I say we couldn't create many more chances than that to not score. You know,
but I think I think it's just the fact that obviously Conte, excuse my phrase, I hope don't usually does take this out of context, that he wants them to be like warriors
Yeah.
and like just kill the game off. And I think at 2-0, we had like a load of chances, I remember. We didn't score, and I was like, oh no. And then Kane came off, and I had this feeling I was like, they're going to score now. And
Yeah.
because Mitrovic didn't really have much of the ball. And ironically, I predicted they'd make 3 changes on the hour. I got one of the changes wrong because Vinicius didn't come on. He didn't come on to like the last 5-10 minutes. But I don't know if you saw my tweet on the hour mark. Dan James and who else was it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Willian was going to come on
Yeah.
along
Yeah.
with Vinicius,
Yeah.
and I think Vinicius came on the 85th in the end. But like, I felt like not we got away with it. Like we deserved to win, but
On
in a
another
game,
day, we could easily have drawn 2-2 or even
yeah,
lost.
yeah, I did have that feeling.
But then on another day, we could have won that 5 or 6-0. So
it's just,
it's one of
but the
them.
thing with football is very fine margins. So you need to just like you need to when you're on top of a team, you need to score as many goals as you can as possible because they'll in a game. There's always a spell when the other team's going to have it for like 10, 15 minutes at least.
Would you not argue though that last year that game would have finished 1-1 or 2-2, as opposed to being 2-1 to Spurs?
I think we beat Fulham last year. I think we
Fulham
did.
weren't in the Premier League last year.
Oh yeah. Well, I do think we would have won the game last year, to be honest.
But do you not think, in terms of margin or gaps, do you not think the changes we made this summer and the options we've had allowed to rotate and the options we've got off the bench was the difference between us that game finishing at 3 points rather than maybe finishing a point? If that was Burnley, for example, we beat Burnley last year 1-0 from a penalty, right?
Yeah.
It was really, really tight. It was
That was
really,
a hard
really
game.
scrappy. It was horrible.
Yeah.
Do you not argue that there were parallels at certain points during the game, but I would still argue that the quality options we've had and the upgrades we've made in the summer, and if you look at our transfer window, a lot of players have come out and been replaced with better quality players with the same squad playing time, and the same position in the squad, be it a bench player, be it a fringe player, whatever it may be. I would argue that the players we've swapped out and swapped in have upgraded our squad 25% plus.
Yeah, I mean, because obviously we didn't have a backup left-sided centre half. I have to be very specific here, at least with Longley. I think people forget, Bergwijn wasn't used, and he obviously wanted to leave as well. No. So quality-wise, obviously Richarlison's better than him. So Conte's actually using him, right?
But would you argue
in midfield you've got Bissouma, who's going to probably come in? Like on Wednesday for me, I'm not about predicted lineups, right? But I'd like to see Kane, Kulusevski, and Richarlison as a 3.
Yeah.
And on the Saturday, I'd like to see Son with Kane as a 2 in a 3-5-2.
Yeah.
But that's just me pre-planning because we're playing City, right?
We'll get into Wednesday in a minute. But I would argue that the energy and the pace and athleticism that Richarlison has brought consistently already, Bergwijn had in bursts, and it wasn't half as impactful, bar the game on my birthday.
And the Leicester City,
right? Yeah. I love how you knew what I was talking about already. I would argue that Bergwijn was very inconsistent in the sense of one game he'd make an impact and then the next game he wouldn't.
No, he's not Richarlison levels.
Whereas Richarlison, now we've got someone who consistently can change a game when he comes on. So I would argue that difference has been the reason from us getting 3 points versus what we may have got as a point.
I think like the numbers wise, because people forget, and Dobelli and Lo Celso were barely even used anyway, and Dele Alli was barely even used. They were all loaned out. I think maybe apart from Dele wasn't, but basically we got rid of them. And in the January, right? So, and obviously Bensko Kulusevski came in. And you forget Kulusevski was on the bench on the weekend and he came on.
Yeah.
And then obviously you've got Sanchez, obviously he's covering Romero, and you have Davies on the bench for Longley. The only one weakness I see is like obviously I don't think Dyer is like the top class defender, but like we don't really have a natural cover for him unless you're going to move Romero into the middle. I guess you could do that.
Conte, Antonio, bro, please don't.
Huh?
Please don't, Antonio. Please don't move Romero into the middle. Please don't.
I know. I'm just saying.
He's a little bit too aggressive for the middle.
I know, but it's like if Dyer gets injured, who are you going to play in the middle? Would you put Longley in the middle?
Potentially, yeah.
And then in the midfield, we're fine. I think depth-wise.
I think this summer it was about upgrading the overall squad. Next summer it's going to be about going from squad to individual world-class player.
Because like right wing back, even though Emerson's better. He's been the mainstay this season so far. He's not.
He's still not
I still think like he lacks a bit of acceleration that, say, if you look at someone like Kyle Walker had, or other
Yeah.
wing backs like Trent. I know he's not a wing back, but
But then I would
Trent Alexander-Arnold is
argue
like,
you don't need that. Look at Trippier at Newcastle. He's been
see, I don't really
outstanding.
rate Trippier personally. So
I honestly, if we had Trippier in our right wing back slot under Conte with the system we play right now, he'd be top three fullbacks in the league.
Trippier's more of like a Doherty, like they're more similar to Doherty because
But look at
Doherty would take good positions. Trippier used to take good positions, but he never be the kind of player to get the ball and just drive like, or like Perisic. He gets the ball,
But then
drives a
I would
bit down the
argue
wing and puts a cross in.
I would argue you need a balance. You need someone who gets into the good positions and then someone who drives forward. You don't need both fullbacks doing the same thing at once because otherwise it's too predictable. If your left wing back and your right wing back are going to do the exact same thing at the exact same time, then it's easier to defend than if your right wing back's going to bolt it and your left wing back's going to drive into midfield or vice versa or whatever. So I feel like that versatility and the different options, I feel like that's one of the reasons why he's stuck with Emerson. He knows Perisic can cross and he knows Emerson's decision making and his passing ability in the final third is a lot better. He just can't cross still. So I think he's seen that Emerson can drive forward, which he's been doing a lot more, and release the ball into midfield or release it to Kulusevski, who has put in the crosses in from the right hand side, cutting in on the right hand side. Then you've got Perisic, who's the one who is high and wide, and Emerson gives a little bit more cover defensively to stop us getting caught on the counter, but having such a high line at certain times of the game.
I think in some ways it's sort of like
on purpose.
In some ways, though, I think like the reason I say it might not be on purpose is because if you look at Conte's 3-4-3 at Chelsea, had Victor Moses and Alonso, and they were both decent crosses of the ball.
But I would argue both are more like, say, Kieran Trippier, for example, than they are like Kyle Walker. Kyle Walker's got the pace, but Kyle Walker's got the pace, but hasn't necessarily got the end products. Marcus Alonso and Victor Moses were never rapid, but their end product. Marcus Alonso was a thorn in our side for fucking years.
I hated him so much.
Glad he's left. But if I play a back three system on Football Manager or I play expansive wing backs, he's one of the first players I look at signing because
his crossing was like unbelievable.
Yeah, exactly. The amount of goals he scored at the back post, which I think we will get the mixture of both on the left-hand side with Destiny, who's on Udinese at the minute. I want to say, by the way, he is playing incredibly at the moment. I'm not going to be.
He scored the other day, didn't he? I saw.
He scored against got an assist against Roma. I'm not.
Do you think he's going to take over Sessegnon if Sessegnon doesn't do it this season?
If Sessegnon doesn't pull his finger out of his ass, he'll be sold and Destiny will come in.
I think because this is Sessegnon's last chance year for me.
Either that or Conte will give Sessegnon 2 years to develop under Perisic. Sessegnon will become the starter. Destiny will become the understudy.
And then Perisic will obviously.
And then Perisic will go. I think that's more likely the case because Sessegnon's improvement has been a lot more. And I feel like
he looks better this season, but the one thing for me again that lets him down is he just doesn't take on players. I don't know what it is.
I think that's a confidence issue, and I think that's down to his injuries from taking on players. You look at the City game
even though he's just like there was instances, for example, in the game where he could have passed the ball forward and he'll go backwards, and I just don't understand.
But again, I think that's part of that's down to a confidence issue. I mean, you look at the game he played against City last year, he was outstanding, one of the best players, constantly driving forward, constantly going at players, got injured, and then he hasn't done it a lot since. I would argue that the two are linked, and his decisions in the final third are linked to his past injuries and concerns about getting. He would rather play to a 7 out of 10 every game than play once to a 10 out of 10 and end up getting injured.
But I remember when, obviously, the Rose, only reason I mentioned this because the Rose rumours are going that he's going to be sold and blah, blah, blah. And the papers were looking at Sessegnon because obviously the club had a long-term interest in them.
Yeah.
Like when we signed Sessegnon, I expected to get like a Rose-type player. And we really haven't got that.
No. But what you got to remember about Sessegnon, he's still ridiculously young still in the grand scheme of things. Let me actually check how old he is because I might be about to eat my words here, but I'm pretty sure.
I think he's like 22, 23, isn't he? I think he's 22. I might be wrong. I think he's 22. He joined us when he was like 19.
He's 22. He turns 23 in May. So I would argue that, I mean, we only really started getting the best out of Danny Rose at 26, 27, 28. And I know that's not what we want, but I would argue that the improvement he's made in the last 2 seasons deserves us to at least bear with until Perisic's contract runs out and then assess the situation.
Because it's like for me,
There's other priorities in the squad right
yeah.
now over Sessegnon. Clearly,
I
Conte
mean,
feels
like
the same.
Spence. Honestly, like I'm not saying he's a bad player. I doubt he'll watch this anyway. But
If you do, make
like,
sure you like
he
and
might be a good
subscribe.
player in 2, 3 years or something like that. But he's clearly not a Conte signing. And if you look at how much we paid for him, right, you could allocate that money to a more established right wing back that Conte may have wanted. So, and you could have
I would
say sold
argue that if
sold Doherty or
Conte,
Emerson, added the extra money we bought Spence for, right, and then go on and bought someone better.
yeah, I mean, I'm trusting that the club know what they're doing. Well, I'm trusting that Conte knows what he's doing.
Because Spence was
And
clearly like a club signing because Conte even said it.
yeah, but then
So
I would also argue that sometimes you need those foundational signings. I think Spence is one of them. If he played another year at Forest and played the way he played in the Championship, he'd be going for 50, 60 million next year to Chelsea, Liverpool, Arsenal, Man City. And it's one of those I think Spurs didn't want to miss out. Worst case scenario, you're probably going to make your money back from him. Best case scenario, you're going to stop one of the other big six getting a top right wing back.
but were they looking at him? I think
I know
Arsenal were
Arsenal
linked with
were,
him,
but
but
what I'm saying is, if he had another good season for Forest and he played like he played against Arsenal in the FA Cup last year against Man City, we
mm,
know that they'd be looking at him because it's in their nature. That's what they do.
I
At
mean,
that
City pick
point,
up young players now, and they just
exactly. So it's
yeah.
easier for us to get in early than risk missing out. Him being homegrown as well, add some money to it. Worst case scenario, he'll go to like an Everton or Aston Villa or whatever for 25 million in 2 years. Best
I
case
guess so.
scenario, he'll break in and he'll do well. In that sense, it's a win-win situation for Spurs. He either
Mm.
does well and great, or we sell him for what we bought for him. So, I don't really see it
It's like because the
as
only
a
reason I mention it is
concern.
because obviously Conte has only used him once, and considering the debate about who's playing right wing back, you'd imagine he'd be used more. But then again, Doherty hasn't played at all this season, which I find quite baffling. But
Anyway, we'll use that as a nice transition
yeah,
on into Wednesday.
mm.
Champions League. I'm absolutely buzzing. Cannot wait. Um, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll go with your expectation for the competition first, and then we'll go what you think the score will be. For
Okay.
me personally, I expect Spurs to get to the round of 16. I think beyond that, it's our first year back in a while. The squad's transitioning. We're bringing in new players. We're making a lot of changes. I'm not going to sit there and say Spurs are going to win it. I'm not going to sit there and say Spurs are going to make it to the quarterfinal or the semi-final, whatever. I would expect Spurs' expectations to the quarterfinal. But for me, if we got to the round of 16 and went out to a Bayern or a Barca or someone along PSG or someone along those lines, I wouldn't have an issue. The reason why I put the quarterfinal in there, if we finish top and get a good draw, theoretically we should make it to the next round.
Mm.
So I'm going to go, I think the club's expectation will be the quarterfinal, but I think our expectation as fans are round of 16. Conte's record in Europe isn't great, but I'm still confident we'll top the group. And I think we'll start with a 2-1 win against Marseille on Wednesday.
Okay.
What do you think?
So I think we should be expecting quarterfinals, to be honest, with the group we have.
Okay.
As for the Wednesday, sorry, I'll probably say 3-1 Tottenham.
Okay.
I think Richarlison will score, assuming he starts.
I hope so.
Yeah, because now we have a conundrum. So it's like, well, I think Kulusevski's probably going to play because he didn't play on the weekend, and you can't drop Kane. So
Yeah,
and you can't really drop
I think you
Richarlison.
will get your one in the, and I think also Son's record against City, we've got to
Yeah, I
protect
know it'd
him
be a
for the
good game for him to get
weekends.
his first goal.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think it will be Richarlison, Kane, and Son. My guess would be Perisic,
Perisic will play, I think.
Bentancur,
Yeah,
Bissouma. I'm gonna say, and I
I
think
want to see Basuma play with Bentancur on
I
Wednesday.
think we will see
Yeah,
Bissouma, and I think we'll also see
Doherty.
Doherty. I think we'll see. I think it's the kind of game for him to get back into the swing of things.
Mm.
And then I think you're correct. I think we'll see Lenglet, Dyer, and Romero.
I don't think we'll see Forster in
I
goal.
think we'll see Lloris, but I wouldn't be surprised if he opted to rotate the goalkeeper.
I don't. I
Being the
don't see
home
rotating the
fixture.
keepers till we get to Forest in the cup. To be honest.
Fair enough. I think you're right. I think I'm swinging 80% more towards Lloris, but I
Yeah.
wouldn't be surprised if there's a change in there that we don't expect.
And then Twitter goes wild and Forster's in goal.
If Forster goes in goal, it's going to be another like Aurelio Gomez. Will be 4-0
It'll be like
down
a
at half time and
meltdown
then be
of like
sent off.
proportion before the ball's kicked at like 6:30.
Don't even go there, man. Don't even go there. Do not.
And we seen you, I'll be like, oh no, he's starting.
Yeah,
Forster
well,
in goal.
I would
Anyone?
imagine I'll see you before the lineups are out anyway. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's where do you think we'll top the group?
I mean, we should top the group, and I think we will, but it probably won't be as smooth.
Bearing in mind, Frankfurt beat West Ham last year.
But Frankfurt are not the same Frankfurt, and also I
No,
think
they've lost a
Marseille
lot.
actually is one of the toughest teams we'll face in the group because I mean they are unbeaten, I think, in Ligue 1 right now,
Yeah, they're like second.
and they got
in
all the
league or
ex-Arsenal
something.
players in there. So
Honestly, do you know what? I'm never going to hear the end of it if we concede to an Arsenal player, ex-Arsenal.
like is it Guendouzi plays for him? I think.
Guendouzi plays for him. Tavares is on loan.
Yeah, it's like it's too many.
It's horrible.
So it's like, well, and I think Marseille kind of like historically do upsets. I don't know why. Did they beat Man City or am I wrong?
No, you're thinking of Monaco.
Okay, Monaco. All right. I mean, Monaco beat us, but
that was when we had another Europa League group when it was Monaco, Leverkusen, and
that was Champions League. Monaco, Leverkusen,
yeah,
and
someone else.
But like, I find with the easier groups, you need to go out and just get the job done, and not just lull the other team into like a
I want to
really.
see it. I want to see it done early. Payet's injured for Marseille, which is great.
Oh, thank God.
Alexis Sanchez is suspended. Thank fuck. That's another.
Oh my God, another one.
Score. If I look at Marseille's squad, so Marseille's recent performances, they drew their last game 1-1, but they are unbeaten this season. However, they've got better defense than PSG this year. They've scored 11 goals less. However, the quality of teams they've played is significantly worse than PSG. If I look at their...
I know the first few games have been Arsenal-esque, I guess, until they played Man United.
I would argue that, yeah.
Until they played Man United.
I look at their squad, they've got obviously ex-Tottenham loanee Paul Lopez in there. Whether he'll start or not remains to be seen.
Oh, God, can you imagine if he starts?
Don't go there. They've got Kolasinac, an ex-Arsenal player. Tavares,
he's quite good,
Arsenal
you know.
Player.
I actually thought Kolasinac was quite a good player.
They brought in Jonathan Klaus, who had an outstanding season last season. They've got Guendouzi, as you say. They've got Bakambu, a Ultimate Team legend. If you play FIFA, they've got quite a few good players. I think Payet being injured is massive for Spurs. He's a great player. Obviously, they've got Eric Bailly on a loan with an option to buy from Manchester United.
A lot of ex-Premier League players.
They've got a good squad, but again, it's the French league. And Spurs are at home. Now, realistically, look, we've got 3 games at home, 3 games away. We need to be winning all 3 games at home if we want a chance of standing top.
And get some points away from home. Yeah.
But even then, to be fair, you win your 3 home games. You're halfway there to be in top. You only probably need another 3 points after that, and you're.
I was going to say you could draw your 3 away games, and you'd be all right, probably.
Yeah, exactly. What's that? 12 points. You're probably going to finish top. 12 points out of a possible 18. You're probably going to finish top, if I'm honest. So,
but it was never that easy.
No, it's never this easy. It's Spurs. We're at home.
Don't we play 2 away games after this, right? In the Champions League, or am I wrong?
Yeah, we do.
Because we've got next Tuesday, we've got a Champions League game as well.
Yes.
Is it the Frankfurt one?
I believe so.
Because there's one that's early kickoff. There's one that's
Sporting is the early kickoff, and then we play Frankfurt.
Is that 5:45, isn't it?
Yes, correct.
That's gonna be a nightmare.
Is that
on the Tuesday?
That's on the Tuesday. Then we've got Leicester on the Saturday. Then we've got the North London derby, and
that's
then
off the international break.
Yeah. It's gonna.
Why is there an international? Why is there an international break now? The World Cup's like.
That's exactly why, so we don't embarrass ourselves. But anyway, I don't know. We'll see. I'm gonna make you do a predicted lineup, as you said you don't like to. For me, I'm going Lloris. I'm gonna go Perisic.
Emerson.
I'm gonna go Perisic, Lenglet, Dyer, Romero, Doherty. I'm gonna go Bentancur and Bissouma. I'm gonna go Richarlison, Kane, Kulusevski.
Yeah. So my only difference with that one would maybe be, there's a chance that Emerson might stay at right wing back. You just don't know. But It depends how many changes he thinks he needs to do, because at the same time you need to get the 3 points. So do you either start the team that you think will get the 3 points guaranteed
I would argue you start
and
a
then take
50-50
players off, or do you
balance.
mix it up?
I would argue you have a 50-50 balance and hope that
Uh,
worst case scenario, you're going in at a draw and you bring those players on. Best case scenario, you're going in at a win.
But at the same
Worst
time, it's not
case,
like you'd bring on Emerson, would you? Just chase the game.
no, but you bring on Emerson to hold out the result.
Yeah.
That's why I don't think he'll start. Emerson will be a 65th, 70th minute substitute when we're
Just
going
help
to
close
close
the
out
game
the
out.
game. We need a more defensive option, etc.
I think Perisic for me is always a guaranteed. You kind of have to start him.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
But then, like, would you play on the weekend? You'd have to keep Perisic with Man City, wouldn't you?
You would, but I would argue that, again, 55th, 60th minute, Perisic off, Sessegnon on, providing the
He
results
does.
in our favour.
But you say that, but Conte, for me, like, I love him, and he's probably earned the right to be this way, but he's very stubborn, and his subs, he tends to do like 1 or 2, and then he'll do like 3 at the end.
But
he tends to
I
do
would
quite
argue,
late.
though, that if you put out 11 players that you believe is going to do the job, that they have to do the job. And if they don't do the job, then that's on them as opposed to on you. And I feel like Conte is very much you make the mess, you fix it up. Or
Yeah,
you
I know.
clear it up,
I can
rather
tell. 'Cause,
than
yeah.
I'll bail you out and bring on someone else on to fix up your mess. So,
But now we have enough quality. Like the fact Kulusevski was on the bench on the weekend,
yeah.
and you had Bissouma on the bench. Like what I'm saying is the options there before, right? He wasn't using like Bergwijn. He was using him, but it wasn't like he was with enthusiasm.
It
Like
was
it's not like he was sold.
sparingly,
Like,
yeah.
yeah. Like with Richarlison, it's like a guaranteed, and they have 4 players. I mean, possibly 5 or 6 if you want to include Lucas and Perisic, because I'd argue that Spence counts as an extra wing back, so you could kind of count Perisic as cover for the left side as well. But or in the 3, if that makes sense.
He's got a lot of options, hasn't he? And I think
that's why I was on another channel, which I've been on quite a lot actually, called the Hospital, and we were doing a stream a few weeks ago, and people were saying, "Oh, there's not enough cover in the front 3." But I kind of argue that there is, because you've got Lucas who can cover on the right or the left, I guess. You've got Richarlison who can play all across the 3.
And you've got then...
And you've got even Perisic who can even play off either way. I mean, Perisic could even play on the right, but as in Perisic can cover the front 3 anyway. I mean, I don't think Perisic can play anywhere, but...
apart from goal. But even then, you never know. Well, I'm gonna wrap that up anyway. So I'm going 2-1. Harry's going 3-1. I'm looking forward to seeing you there.
Yeah, me too.
First drinks on me. Hopefully Spurs come away with the 3 points to start the Champions League group stage. Make sure if you haven't followed Harry's channel, Spurs fan or not, make sure you go over there. His growth and his progression on his channel over the last couple of months has been outstanding. So go over there, drop him a follow, and you'll see me over his channel all the time. Drop myself a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, I've been doing loads of random shit on TikTok, so the link to that is in the description, as well as my Twitch. I'm not streaming as much at the minute. I'm working, trying to do YouTube stuff in between, but I do stream whenever I've got the spare time. So make sure you drop that a follow as well. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and for the first time, and not the last time on the channel this season, come on, you Spurs!
Come on, you Spurs!